We are here today set for our final in this case, and we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, as well as Ms. Taylor is making our official record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take everybody's announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
Brooks Barfield, present and ready. I do not know that my client is here.
I do not have Mr. Kasongo in the waiting room.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of Angela.
All right, and the mother, Bahindwa Mugoli, I do not have in the waiting room. So we'll be sure to get some testimony about what, if any, contact has been made with her. She has not been present for any of our hearings, including the adversary hearing. So I don't know whether she's been located or not, but we'll get into all that. But she's not present. Mr. Trout, how many witnesses do you have today?
Oh, I'm not sure just exactly how many. I know I'll have, I believe, at least 3 today. Miss Martinez, Miss Mays, and Miss Valenzuela.
All right. And Mr. Barfield, any witnesses to call today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Zabala?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then. All right, Mr. Trout, you can call your first witness.
We'd call Miss Valenzuela. And Alexis, how are you employed?
I'm an investigator with the Department of Family Protective Services.
Are you familiar with the case involving the child, Angela?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I was the investigator assigned to the case.
And how did the department become involved in this case with this child?
We initially received a report regarding, I believe it was physical abuse. The report stated that we had an infant that had bruising on her.
Okay. And when was that? That was
Oh, let me look. I'm sorry. It was such a long time ago. And May 3rd was when we received the report.
And did you make contact with the parents at that time, or did you find out who the parents were?
I did, yes.
And what were the parents' names?
Mother was identified as Bahindwa Magoli and father was identified as Isidore Kasongo.
Okay. Did you make contact with either one?
I did. I made contact with Bahindwa that day, and I had another worker go out and speak with Mr. Kasongo out at Potter County Jail.
What was your conversation with the mother like? What did you
I would not say it was very I would not say I got a lot of information from her. At first, we were trying to locate the child, and so that was my main focus at first. When I did try and talk to mother, she didn't appear intoxicated. She was kind of moving back and forth. There were several beer cans around the house. You could kind of smell the alcohol on her breath. So my conversation with her was not the greatest.
Did you ask her where the child was at the time?
I did. At first, she told me and another worker that her child was in San Antonio. And then in trying to locate the child further, I had a neighbor run down the street while I was outside, and she told me that she was able to find the child.
Okay. And where was the child?
The child was in her apartment, in the neighbor's apartment that was down the street from the mother's residence.
What condition was the child in at that time?
She appeared with a soiled diaper. She smelled of urine. So I believe I'm sorry. I had the worker that was with me look at her. We thought there was bruising. I don't know that we ever confirmed that, but that was her condition to my knowledge.
Okay. And who was watching her?
Mother had a friend watching her. His name was Opti. That was all of the information I had gotten from mother. Law enforcement was also with us and spoke with Abdi as well. Abdi was also under the influence. He had an open beer can in his hand when I spoke with him in that apartment. His eyes were also very red at the time.
Okay. Did you go back and speak with the mother after that?
I did speak with her.
Was the mother still drinking at that time?
She was, yes.
Okay. Did the mother make any statements about where the father was?
We had a difficult time, at least I had a difficult time identifying the father, but eventually she did tell me that the child's father was in jail for beating her up.
Okay. Did the mother make any statements as far as their living conditions and the way that things were in the home?
She did not, no, not to my knowledge.
Did she ever tell you that needed to protect Angela?
Yes, she did.
And what was the reasoning for that?
The neighborhood where they lived. And I will say I did notice when I found the residence that there was a bunch of men that lived in the front home of that duplex. And I believe that's what she was referring to. She told me on multiple occasions that men, and excuse my language, her wording, that men were trying to force almost daily. And so she didn't think it was a safe environment for her child.
So during these conversations, she repeatedly asked you to take the child and protect the child?
Yes, sir, to take and protect her child, yes.
And your understanding was due to the environment that they lived in the neighborhoods and
yes,
things that went. Okay. Did you ever go out to the jail to speak to the father?
I did. I believe a day or two following the removal.
Okay. Let me back up just a second. Did the mother go to the department with you in the
She
car?
did, yes.
Did she make any statements in the car on the way to there?
She did. While I was transporting her to the office, she told me to take her child because it was easy for her to have another one.
Okay. Looks like May 5th. Did you go speak with the father at the jail?
Yes.
And how did that conversation go? Did you what was your purpose of that meeting at the jail?
The purpose of that meeting at the jail was to let him know about the removal, provide him with all the paperwork so that way he could hire an attorney. And so that way, I mean, I could keep him updated with the case. Okay.
Did he make any comments about what was going on?
He asked to speak with mother and Abdi several times. He asked if I could let them know that they needed to be at the jail to speak with him. He told me that he would do whatever the department asked for him because he wanted his child back.
Okay. And when you informed mother of the removal, what did mother say? Did she have anything to say about that?
No, not really. And part of that conversation that I had with her was asking her about the other children that were removed from her care. And so when I asked her about that, she just said that she didn't want to talk about it. It happened a long time ago. And I did not really get much information from her. She was also drinking at that point. So I was able to get some of her paperwork, but not all of it.
Okay. And did you go back to the house later to try to get the rest of the paperwork from her?
I did, but she was living at another apartment across the street, and I'm not sure who she was living with.
So the child ended up being removed due to father being in jail and the condition of the mother being intoxicated and leaving the child in, I guess, dirty conditions with other people who were also intoxicated.
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe the department at the time believed that was in the best interest of the child?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness at this time.
Ma'am, do you know why the father was in jail at the time?
To my knowledge and speaking with mother, it was for an assault charge.
Since that one jail visit, had you had any conversations with the father?
No, sir, not after the jail visits.
I said nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Zavala.
Ms. Valenzuela, so you drove mom physically to the DFPS office?
Yes, her and child.
And who?
And the child, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Did she ever, throughout the rest of this case, ever come back to the DFPS office?
No, she did not.
But she knew where it was.
Yes.
Did she have your contact information?
Several business cards were left at her residence and on the paperwork that we give parents after removal, it also has the office address. So yes.
Okay. And if she had showed up at the DFPS office, even though the case had transferred over to St. Francis, someone there would have been able to direct her to who she needed to speak with.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's nothing in the record that showed that she ever appeared at the DFPS office.
Right.
You had mentioned that you tried to talk with her about previous children who were removed.
Yes.
Were you involved in the investigation for the previous children when they were removed?
No, ma'am, that removal was out of a different county.
Okay. But you had that information in your file when you went to go meet with her.
Not until I believe, so initial contact at the house, no. And that was some of the difficulty that we had at the house is we did not have her like legal name. That was something that law enforcement had to help us with. So it wasn't until we got back to the office that we were able to find her name and find her CPS history.
Okay. So when you did meet with her at the house, did you go into the house?
Yes.
Were there any concerns about the condition of the house?
There was not enough food in the home. To me, it kind of looked like the family had just moved in, so there wasn't a lot of furniture. I believe there was one mattress in the living room that the family was sleeping on. They did have a bassinet for Angela, but just not enough food is what I would say were my concerns.
Once you were able to go back to the office and review the records with her proper identification, is it then that you were able to determine that there had been a case involving children previously?
Yes.
Do you know when that previous removal took place?
I can definitely look if you'll give me just 1 second. That would have been September 2021.
And so at this time, when you were discussing with her, that was in May of 2022?
Yes.
And at that point, is that when she said that it had been so long ago and she didn't want to talk about it?
Yes.
But the previous removal had actually been less than a year before.
Correct.
When you went to the jail and spoke with Dad, were you able to give him all of your contact information?
Yes, ma'am.
After that conversation at the jail, did you ever speak with him again?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever speak with either of the parents or any other family members again after what you've already talked with us about?
No, ma'am. The last time I had contact with anyone was May 11th.
I pass the witness.
Yes, ma'am. I have a few more questions, Your Honor. Ms. Valenzuela, during your conversations with the mother, did y'all ever offer to take her to shelters or to somewhere else in a safer environment to stay?
We did. We offered shelters and she declined wanting to go.
Okay. Did she know where the child saw, what doctor the child went to?
She did not. That was more information that we could not get from her, and that I could never find where the child was born or where she was making medical appointments.
Okay. But the mother eventually did verify that the child was born in Amarillo.
Yes.
So did we ever find out, or during your investigation, did you ever find out if the child had even been to any follow-up visits?
I did not. Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. No, not to my knowledge. No.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Barfield, anything further?
Ma'am, when the conversation that you had with my client, what was the substance of that conversation?
So the conversation that I had personally with him was informing him of the removal, letting him know why the department took custody, letting him know that there was this removal paperwork that he needed to fill out so that way we could get him an attorney, let him know that he would be required to work services with what the court was going to ask him to do.
And did he seem receptive to that, or what was the result of your conversation?
He did. He seemed receptive, and he told me that he would do whatever he needed to do.
Okay. All right.
All right, Ms. Val?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Trout, anything else?
Nothing from this witness, Your Honor.
All right, counsel, any objection to Ms. Valenzuela being released to go on about her day's activities?
No objection.
No objection.
Objection.
All right, Ms. Valenzuela, you're free to go. You're free to stay, but you're certainly welcome to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Leslie.
you.
Call Jennifer Mays, Your Honor.
All right,
Ms. Mays, would you state your name for the record, please?
Jennifer Mays.
And Ms. Mays, how are you employed?
I'm employed with St. Francis Ministries.
Okay. And are you familiar with the case?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with that case?
The case was transferred to me on March the 1st when we launched our new program.
Okay. So after this case was through investigations, you took over as the caseworker for St. Francis?
Yes, and actually the case was given to me in May. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So just to start out real quick, did you ever speak with the mother and father in this case?
Yes, I did. I actually had, and that's why I said March, because I actually had the 3 kids prior to having Angela.
Okay.
I had already had that case. So I had contact with them probably twice before Angela was removed. When Angela was removed, I was there during the removal, I guess, when we spoke to her about the removal, and that's when I think it was the 4th, May 4th is when I talked to her.
So you were with Ms. Valenzuela when she met with the mother at the office? Is that what
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And when you said you had the other 3 children, you're talking about from the September removal on the other children?
Yes, it's a Moore County removal.
Okay. Now, after you received the case and you were with St. Francis, what was your first steps in how you dealt with the parents and what you informed them of?
My first steps was I went over them, when I did speak to her, I asked her about what we could do to assist her to help her, to maybe try to get her into a safe place. She refused that. So then I did go over what the process was of trying to be reunified with her daughter. And she appeared not to quite really understand a lot of the process.
Okay.
So I lost contact with her, and I could not find her whereabouts for a while.
Okay. Did y'all put together a family plan of service?
Yes, we did.
And what is a family plan of service?
The family plan of service is requirements that are given by the court that the parents need to that the parents need to complete ordinary for them to be reunified with their children. And I did go over that because once dad got out of jail, I met with mom and dad at a local Brahms because they refused to give me their address where they were at. So I met with them there. I went over that plan with them. They signed the plan and stated that they did understand
Okay.
what was asked of them.
Did you receive the exhibits that I sent out a day or so ago?
Yes,
Okay. Can you pull those up real quick?
I've got them pulled up.
Okay. Can you look at exhibit number 1? And what is that?
That's the family plan, initial family plan.
Okay. And is this a accurate copy of the family plans that you had the parents went over with the parents?
Yes.
Has it been changed in any sort of way?
No, it has not.
I didn't receive an address, but I did follow up with him to see if I could get one.
So do you have a doubt in your mind that my client knew, one, that there was a final hearing today, and two, that he did have legal counsel? Do you have any doubt in your mind that he didn't know that?
No, I think he did know.
Okay. And is that because you told him that?
Yes, sir.
And then he acknowledged that and said, okay, he'd be getting back with you. Did he get back with you today or yesterday or anything like that to follow up on your conversation?
No, sir, he has not.
Okay. But okay, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Ms. Martinez, are you also the supervisor on the other children's case?
I am not.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Trout, anything further?
Sorry, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Department have any other witnesses, or do you rest at this time?
No further witnesses, Your Honor, would rest.
All right. And Mr. Barfield, I know I asked you earlier, but your last shot, anything to present?
Unfortunately, I have no witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you rest?
I do.
All right. And Ms. Zavala?
No witnesses and a rest and close other than recommendation.
All right. We will take your recommendation at this time.
Yep. Your Honor, I apologize. May I reopen real quick for just a second? I have one thing I forgot to ask.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right, sir. Go ahead and reopen.
Ms. Martinez, are you aware of paternity registry search?
I am not.
Okay. Your Honor, I would just ask that the court take judicial notice of the paternity registry search that was filed with the court on July 22nd of 2022.
No objection.
And I'm not looking at it, but my assumption is that it indicates no one has registered as the father of Angela. Okay. All right, then I'll take judicial notice of paternity registry search that was conducted in this case and that has been filed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, anything further?
No, ma'am, I'll rest of those.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, it is my recommendation at this time that parental rights be terminated for both mother and father in this case. And I do believe that that is in Angela's best interest. For the record, I've met with her and get regular updates, and she is thriving. And I do believe that termination would be in her best interest.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to adjudicate Isidore Kasongo as the father of Angela, and that's Angela, based on the acknowledgement of paternity that he filed in his statement of procedures for appointment of counsel, and also based on the fact that he was personally served and an attorney did not contest paternity in this case. So I'm going to adjudicate him as the father of the child and create a parent-child relationship between the two of them. All right, at this time, I do find by clear and convincing evidence it is in the best interest of the child, Angela, to terminate the parental rights between the child and her mother, Bahindwa Mugonil. And Ms. Taylor, there was an amendment to the spelling of her name. You probably have it incorrectly on your docket, so I just wanted to make sure you knew. It's based on Texas Family Code section 161.001 subsection B1, the D, E, N, and O grounds, and the best interest of the child 161.001 B2. I also find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child to terminate parental rights between the child and her father, Isidore Kasongo, based on Texas Family Code sections 161.001 subsection B1, the N and O grounds, and best interests under B2. And just to be clear, Texas Family Code 161.002 B1 and B3, which is, of course, being personally served and not contesting paternity, and also failure to register. So at this time, I will appoint the department as permanent managing conservator of the child, and I will continue the child's current placement. I will dismiss Mr. Barfield from his representation after the appropriate de novo and appellate timeframes expire. And of course, Mr. Barfield, as always, please do not file any notice of appeal if you're instructed to do so until a final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. Ms. Zavala obviously will remain in the case as the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. And I think that takes care of everything today. So appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you all very much. Some of you I know I will see back at 1 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.